And so the story we begin to hear from our script is that life is all about pain, and there's nothing you can really do about it. And then the third piece, the world, we see this and we grow up thinking, well, there's a lot of possibility, and then we watch the news. And then we get interacting with some people. We get interacting with other people's stories, and what we begin to believe is that the script for the world is mostly evil. You cannot live by this script. No human being can live by this script. To live by this script is to watch our faith erode. And if we watch our faith erode, then our life begins to fall apart at the same time. I want to take you into a story that Jesus tells, that is told of the life of Jesus, and hopefully this will help us understand this. If you're a Bible person, you can turn to Mark chapter 9. If not, I'll have them up on the screen. Jesus and his disciples have just had this amazing mountaintop experience, this great spiritual experience. And they're coming back down. It's Jesus, James, and John, and they're coming back down to the rest of the disciples. And what they see when they get there is like a giant shouting match between the disciples and this other group called the teachers of the law. Here's what it says. They saw a great crowd around them, the other disciples, and the teachers of the law arguing with them. Jesus says, "What are you arguing with them about?" Jesus knows that you can't leave the disciples alone for very long before they get into something they shouldn't. And so he's like, what is going on? He's trying to get to the, parents, this is what we do. What's going on here? Who hit who? Come on, out with it. And somebody answers from the crowd, and this is what they say. A man in the crowd answered, "Teacher, I brought you my son who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of speech. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive out the spirit, but they could not." And Jesus' response is interesting. He says, "You unbelieving generation," Jesus replied, "how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me." Now, we kind of hear that, and we hear Jesus going, "Oh, you guys." But I kind of imagine him doing it like the parent thing, like the head tilt. "Aw, you unbelieving generation, come on. How long are we going to do this? Are we going to do this again?" But the interesting thing to me is that the disciples are not fighting with the dad. They're fighting with the teachers of the law. And you wonder, what are they fighting about? What they're fighting about is an old story that's been told that is in existence in the time of Jesus that says, if this boy is possessed, he is cursed. And if he's cursed, he's outside of God's desires or designs. He's marginalized. He's not worthy of God's blessing because obviously this bad thing has happened to him. This boy's been told this story, you're broken. And this dad has been told this story. Your son's broken. There's nothing that can be done for him. This is the story he's been given. You might as well just figure out how to work with it. So the disciples and the teachers of the law are fighting over, should this kid be healed at all? Or is this just what God desires? This is just what life is. In this moment, we get the very first point about losing our faith. To lose our faith is to lose the story. Not the story we've been told here, but the real story. To lose our faith is to lose the story. What script is this kid and his dad living by? They're living by the script that says you're not worth it. You're not even worth it for God's people, the disciples and the teachers of the law, to take the time to figure out whether or not you should be healed. And so many people have lost their faith because they've been told that story, whether it's by a friend or a pastor or a priest or a teacher or someone else in their community. They've been told this story that you're not worth the effort. How do I explain this? Here's the best way I can explain it. Do you know the show American Pickers? Anybody know that show? It's amazing to me. This just amazes me, right? So these two guys travel all over the country, digging through people's barns and their basements, and they're looking for items, and they go through all this junk, and they pull something out, and it's like an old, dilapidated, gumball machine. They're like, I could sell this for $8,000. And I'm sitting at home going, what? What's in my basement? I'm going down there, man. We're going to find something here. But my question always was, how does someone have something that's worth that much money just chilling underneath a bunch of junk in their basement? Well, the difference is they don't know the story. These two guys that run American Pickers, they can tell you the origin, they can tell you where it was made, how many of them were made, and why it has the value it has. See, what has happened to most of us is we've been told a story that has caused us to shelve ourselves and hide ourselves away because we don't know that we're worth it. And so Jesus changes the script in one phrase in this story when he says, bring the boy to me.